everyone, Jennifer Penton here, and I'm going to show you a new project that we're going to be working on this week where you're going to color this image or any image you want. Now, make sure that you use an image where all of the lines are completely closed, okay? So that you can easily put colors into these areas if you want to make it easier. If you don't care as much, you could have open lines like this one here, but closed lines work better where you have these sections that are completely closed off. That will work better for what I'm going to show you. This exercise is a really important one because it's going to teach you a lot of things you haven't learned from the potato exercise, and it's really fun, so you're going to enjoy this. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find a line drawing. As you can see, I did a search for line drawing of cat. And what I did was I went into the advanced settings. So it's settings, and I went to advanced settings, which brought me here. Advanced image search, line drawing of cat, image size. I did larger than 2 megapixels. You really don't need to go that much larger because we're just doing this for fun, as an exercise, and a lot of these images may be copyrighted. But let's say you love to draw. This is something you could do just for yourself. So anyway, this is how I did the search. I found this cat, which I think is really cute. It's a drawing by Lisa Wilson, it looks like. And what I want to show you is, remember how I was showing you how to drag images into Photoshop, and for some of you that didn't work. Well, a reason for not dragging is this one. Let's say I have this image and I have the larger one picked out. Don't ever go from a thumbnail. Click on the image to get the larger one with the larger pixel size. As you can see, this is 2048 by 2560. So it's a pretty nice big image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control on a Mac or right click on a PC, and I'm going to copy image, and then I'm going to go to Photoshop. So I'm putting my finger on Command and tabbing over to Photoshop, and here I am at my sort of welcome, my home screen. And instead of creating new, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to File, New. And here's a really cool thing about copying images from the internet. You'll notice that the clipboard shows immediately, and it shows that I can make a Photoshop document that's the same size as my image that I just copied. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the clipboard, create, and now I have this empty document. But when I Command V or Edit Paste, my cat comes in exactly at the size it was on the internet, okay, which is really kind of nice, okay? So that's a really good trick. When you copy from the internet, the clipboard remembers the size of the image you've copied, and when you make a new document, you can make it be the exact size as that image that you've copied from the internet. So now, as you can see, I have a layer 1, and I'm going to name that cat line drawing. Okay, and I'm going to save this because I definitely don't want it to be called untitled. File, save as, and I'll make sure I save it where I want to. So I'm going to put it into a very organized place. So it's going to be in my Jennifer Yellow, which is an external hard drive, and I am going to, let's see, put it into a folder. Let's see here. We'll go to Winter 2021, and there we are, and this looks right. Let's make sure it looks good. Yes, that's a good place for it. And we're going to call this, and I'll put my name on it, Penton Line Drawing. And underscores can be good because the internet loves underscores. Penton Line Drawing, I can even put cat on here. Now, PSD means Photoshop document, and I'm going to go ahead and save. And I'm going to maximize compatibility because if I ever wanted to use this with other Adobe products, maximizing compatibility is a good idea. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that if I wanted to print this document, I would want to make sure of something. So I'm going to go to Image. I'm going to go to Image Size. And you'll notice right now that the resolution is 72 pixels per inch, which means that this will print at a very low resolution. We always want to make sure that we change our resolution to be 300 pixels per inch if we want to print. But because this is only 2048 pixels by 2560 pixels, I'm going to get a much smaller piece inch-wise when I change this to 300. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make this 300. And actually, let me just double check something. You never want to res up. So remember 248. That's an important 2048. That's an important number. So 300, and then here I'm going to change this to pixels, and I'm going to go 2048. Okay. So now, if I go ahead and save this, click on OK. Now if this prints, let's just go to Image Size again. This will print, if I change this back to inches, we'll see that this will print a very nice, almost 7 by 8.5 inch image at 300 pixels per inch, and it'll look really good. So remember that resolution is important. Whenever you print, you want to make sure your resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. 72 pixels per inch is standard for anything like a video that's going to be on the internet or that you're going to watch on a movie screen. But 300 pixels per inch is for print. Okay, and as you can see, I've kept my dimensions what they were when I took this image from the internet. 2048 pixels by 2560 pixels. Click on OK. And now, here's what I want to do. I want to start coloring this cat. And right down here, this is called my color picker. So what I'm going to do is maybe I want to pick a color, and maybe I want to start off with something like a big yellow sun, because as you can see, there's a sun in here in the cat. So what I do is I click over here into my color picker, and by default, you'll notice this color is black and this color is white, and you can always switch between them by clicking on this little these little arrows, and there's a keyboard shortcut as well. I'm going to cancel just so I can show you. So let's see. If I hit X on my keyboard, I can switch between black and white being the front and back, okay? But let's say I hit X and this is white, and I want the color yellow. So I click in the white little color picker, and you'll notice that white has this number here that's FFFFFF. This is called the hexadecimal code, okay? The hexadecimal code for white is FFFFFF. The hexadecimal code for black is 000000. That's pure black, okay? And you should know these. Now, any variations between them are different numbers. So for example, if I switch to like a nice sunny yellowish color, this is my hexadecimal code, FAE 604. And there are millions and millions of web colors, and they all have very specific hexadecimal codes. If I choose this one, there's a different number, you'll see. So if the reason for that is, let's say you were working with somebody on the other side of the earth and you wanted to make sure you had the exact same color that you guys were going to work with, well, you can just refer to the hexadecimal code and you'll have the same color, which is kind of nice. So now I've chosen a nice yellow color that I like for the sun. I'm going to click on OK. And you'll see that I have yellow. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a paintbrush. So here's my brush tool. And the default brush tool is just like a round, soft-edged brush. And there are different ways that I can paint. There are different things that I can do here. But here's the problem. If I start to paint, first of all, I don't want to paint on this layer. I'm going to make my brush larger. So let me do that really quickly. If I paint on this layer, it's going to be really hard to make it fit the way I want to. So I'm going to Command Z and quit that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint behind the lines. Now, the problem is if I paint behind the lines, I won't be able to see what I paint unless I change this top layer, cat line drawing, from normal mode to multiply mode. Multiply mode is a great blending mode. All of these are blending modes and they can do all kinds of really cool things. But with line drawings, blend mode, you want to be in multiply mode. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to make a brand new empty layer. And the way to do that is to click on this little icon that says create new layer. Okay, so now I have an empty layer and now I can paint on that empty layer. But here's something that I can do which could save me some time. If I zoom in, and then I hold down the space bar and I just kind of center that, zoom in again. By the way, I can also use this zoom tool and zoom in even more, or hold down Option or Alt on a PC and zoom out, zoom in. The nice thing is that wherever you put your zoom tool, it will center it. Okay, so let's say I like this section and I want to paint right here. Well, I need to mask it off, okay, because I don't want to paint outside of the lines. So one thing I can do is I can I can actually make a selection here of just this area. So one thing, and this is a very old school way to do it, and there are lots of ways to do everything, is I can go back to this layer, which is in multiply mode, and I can go ahead and I could use the magic wand tool and make sure that it is set up to be contiguous and just for this layer. Click here and look what it does. It selected only this white area. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and go to, let's see, select, and I can go modify, expand, and expand by, let's do 2 pixels. See where that puts us. And now I have a nice selection that's going just under the black line. Okay, so that I will have a very neat selection. Now, what I can do in this layer 1, which is underneath the cat line drawing, is I can go ahead and call this sun yellow. You know, whatever I want to call it so I remember what it is. And then I can take my paintbrush, go back to my paintbrush, and I can just paint in there and look what happens. You'll notice that the marching ants are constraining the boundaries of where I'm painting. Okay, so that's really nice. And that's as easy as that is. Now there are some other things I can do here, which I'll show you in just a moment. What I can do is I can also, let me just undo that. So I'm going to go back here instead of using the brush tool. There are other ways that I can actually fill in this area, which could be even quicker. Okay, so one thing I can do is I can click on this tool, which is the gradient tool, and I can choose the paint bucket. The paint bucket will, if I just click, making sure that the color that I want is the front color, if I just click on the paint bucket tool, I can immediately just fill that area with one little click. Okay, I'm going to undo that, go back in history. This is history. And another thing I can do is I can go Option Delete. Option Delete is a keyboard shortcut that allows me to also just fill any selection. Now, once again, remember that all of this is being masked off by the marching ants, which is kind of a nice thing. Now, let's say I like this color, but I feel like, maybe I want to try it being a different color. Well, guess what? I can, without even choosing a different color in the color picker, and you can do this with anything, by the way. So like if you were using a banana for the mouth of the potato and you wanted it to be red, you could do the same process that I'm going to do right now with the sun. Let's say I want this to be a little bit more orangey. I am going to go ahead and go image adjustments and look at all these wonderful tools. I'm going to try hue saturation and take a look. If I change the hue, hue is basically what the color is of something. Look at this. I can change it to any color I want, which is really nice. Okay, so let's say I want it to be just a little more orangey than it was. Okay, so there it is. And now maybe it's not matching exactly what that color was in the color picker, but because I can easily find it by clicking in it, I am all set with that color. So if I wanted to use that color somewhere else, it's not going to be hard to deal with that. I can also make it darker or lighter. Okay, you'll see that, and you can see the numbers. I made it like eight little digits lighter. I can saturate it more. Now, it's a little different when you saturate, you know, it depends on what kind of image you're looking at. If you had a pale photograph and you were saturating it more, you would see a huge difference. With this color, I'm not seeing much of one. But as you can see, you know, let's say I want this to be orange. There you go. And now I just go ahead and click on OK. So now my sun yellow is more of a sun orange. And if I wanted to use this color other places, look what I can do. I can go ahead and click on the color picker, and I can just go right into that color, and I get a little, what becomes a nice little eyedropper. Click on it, and now it's telling me, do I want to change to this orange color, which is FBBEOO, which don't worry about these too much, but just know that they're there, and if you ever have to work with somebody somewhere else, you can tell them the exact color of something by telling them the hexadecimal code. I go ahead and click, and now the new color that will be in the color picker will be the orange color. So there you go. All right, so that's pretty cool. So I might want to change this to sun orange, or just call it sun, just in case I change it later so that I don't have to keep changing the name. So then I will go ahead and do the same thing over here. Now, if you want to get rid of a selection, just go to Select, Deselect. Okay, right here, Command D. And there you go. So now what I can do is go to another part of this image, and I can make another layer. You're going to make lots of layers, and maybe I'll make all of these sun rays that same color. So once again, on this layer 1, I'll call this sun rays, and maybe I'll do all of them on this layer. Okay, it's good to have a lot of layers because layers allow you a lot more flexibility. So I'm going to go ahead now, I'm going to go again, and I'm going to just select this area. Now, I'm going to try something though. Let's just see if I can click there. Yeah, that doesn't work. You have to have a selection. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Actually, let's go here and just see something. Okay, if you want to click on the actual drawing to fill something in, you can, but the problem is now this line drawing has that orange in it. And I don't recommend that because what happens is now it's going to be a lot harder to do any manipulation. The whole line drawing itself has the color in it. So don't do it that way. Do it a better way. Let me actually go back here and have everything separated by layers. It may be a little more time consuming, but overall you're going to be happier that you did it this way. Just go back to the magic wand, and I can do this. Actually I have to go back to the line drawing to select, click. See, there you go, plus. And you know, you can do more than one at a time. So I'm going to shift click, and let's do this one, shift click. Let's see, let me command minus, because I think there's more up here. Shift click, command Z, make sure I'm in the same right place. Shift click, there we go. And I'm going to just make that bigger so I can see that better. And there's a little dot there. I could just paint that with a little paintbrush. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do because it's going to be a little hard to select that unless I go here, right? I could do this and shift using this lasso tool. Just get this little area here. There you go. But it's a little bit big and I'm going to expand that selection. So let me make it smaller. And you know, one thing you'll notice is you can do things in different orders in Photoshop. Okay, so let's make that smaller. I'm going to hold down Option because this is going to expand too much. So I'm going to have to erase some of that ray there. Okay, let's just say that's good enough for now. Smaller things are sometimes harder to deal with than larger things. Okay, and once again, I'll go Select and Modify, Expand. Okay, just so that's nice and neatly in that black area. And then I can go back in here. And that's actually not bad. That'll stay within the black, so I'm okay. Okay, so sun rays, go back to the sun rays layer. You're always making sure that you highlight the layer that you're working on. Please be careful of that. Okay, so now let's change this color a little bit. Maybe we'll go with the orange, but maybe make it a little bit of a brighter color. So what I can do here is just drag this up a little bit and you'll see that it compares to what was there already. So it kind of, you can tell if it looks the way you want it to look, and that's nice. So I'm going to click on OK. And once again, I can do the paint bucket, right? Let's just do the paint bucket. Boop. There you go. Or I could have done Option Delete. There are many different ways I could do that. All right, so we're going to Command D to get rid of the selection. And as you can see, you can do the entire thing and just make it a beautiful, beautiful coloring process. So that should be a lot of fun for you. Now, another thing I want you to be aware of is that it would be really fun if you can make sure to add highlights and shadows. So what do I mean by that? Well, with the sun, you might not want to do it with the, but you know what, I'm going to use the sun as an example so we don't waste time here. So what I could do is, let's say I want to go back and work on the sun. Well, I want to get that selection back, and guess what? I can. If I put my little cursor in the thumbnail, in the layer next to the sun, see how I'm moving it around? It becomes a little hand. If I hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, you'll see this little miniature square, which is a selection. Okay, so I hold down Command and I click. It brings back the selection that masked off this sun layer, which is really good because now what I can do is I can make another layer and we can call this highlights. I'll just call this HL for short. Okay, and then maybe I can make another new layer and call it shadows. Okay. All right, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the shadows first just to make it a little easier. I'll go back to this color. So I just clicked here and I click in there. And maybe I want it to be like a darker orange, like that. Or maybe I want it to be a red. Okay, so I can, if I want to go back to current, I can actually just go back here and just click here. There you go. Maybe I want it to be a redder tone, so I could go like that. And that's pretty cool. Click on OK. And now I have this even redder color for my orange, for my shadows. And what I could do here is now use my paintbrush, which is very soft. And I can keep it soft or I can make it firmer. Remember, if I want to make an edge firmer, I shift right bracket. And notice how much firmer it becomes. If I want to make it softer, shift left bracket just to the right of the P. In this case, let's just keep it really soft, okay? And now I'm going to make it smaller, so just left bracket. And let's say I want to make it, you know, have a really nice Actually, that's actually pretty nice there. That's pretty cool. Let's say I like that. That's good. So my shadows are nice and orangey. And now I'll do highlights. I'll put the highlights above the shadow. So all I have to do is click and drag, and I move my highlight layer above my shadow layer. Incidentally, take a look at this. If I go back to my cat line drawing and I change this back to normal mode, watch what happens. I don't see any of the colors. This is why it's very important to put the cat line drawing layer into multiplied mode. All of the other layers can stay in normal mode, or you could experiment and put them into different modes, and you'll get all kinds of interesting color combinations. So the highlight layer, let's go ahead and play with that. I'm going to click here, click there, and maybe go with a yellower color. Or you could go with a completely different color. You know, this is just up to you. Have a lot of fun with it. Let's say that's a good color. Let's make it even brighter, even yellower, just so it's got a nice brightness to it. And even maybe bring it over here to make it a little bit more whitish. Okay, click on OK. And now I'll just paint right in there. Make sure you're on the highlight layer. And look at that. Okay, so now I'm creating this really nice multi-dimensional image with color. So what I would do is finish all of this. Now, as you can see, I chose a very complicated image, so this is going to take me hours to finish. But for you, you could choose a much more simple image if you'd like. Remember, if your lines are closed, it's much easier to create these selections than if you have open lines, as I showed you earlier. So try to choose something that's very cartoony with easily closed lines, so you can easily put everything where it's supposed to be. When you submit this, you're gonna that'll be on the next. I will show you in the module. You're gonna when you submit it, you're gonna submit it the same way you submitted the potato assignment. Okay, so I can see your layers. All right, you guys, and I want to make sure when you do this, by the way, that you've highlighted cat line drawing when you send the screen share of this image in, so I can see that that's in multiply mode and that you have other colors behind it. All right, you guys, have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.